Friend request is yet another attempt at capitalizing on social media, and horror and all genres of film tend to go with the times and start addressing new issues that come up in society. And I think that something that I can't comprehend personally is, I was bullied in school and blah blah blah. I mean, lots of people were, but I don't think that we can truly understand what kids go through today with internet bullying, especially with like the fact that anytime anything happens these days, instead of thinking maybe to help somebody or go getting a principal or whatever, they just grab their cell phones and start filming it instantly and then throw it up online for everyone to see. And once you put it on the internet, it's there forever. I can't imagine if I could go back right now and look at YouTube videos of me being beaten up or ridiculed or something in high school. Like, that pain, that scar would be there forever. And that's a crazy thought. Like, truly, I don't think we can comprehend that different level. And I'm sure in our time, there was things that people 10, 15 years before were like, I can't imagine with that. But this one truly is something different. The internet really is its own different animal, and social media and the ability to text and cell phones, and it's wild, man. It's a horror movie in itself. So that alone to me is just is something to consider and to think about, and it really gets my mind running. Now, this is not the first one of these kinds of movies, obviously. You had Unfriended, which I thought was actually great. I went into Unfriended really just kind of whatever about it. I was just like, maybe it'll be okay. I hope it's decent. And I actually sat there and was like shocked at how good it was. I watched it twice in a very short amount of time, like in a week or something. Like, I watched it quick. I went and I got another person and I showed it to him. I was like, I can't believe it. I'm telling you this. But this movie's awesome. This one is not so awesome. But I'm not the kind of person that is just going to be like, this is garbage and here's every reason why it sucked. Like, I'll tell you some of the reasons why I think that it didn't work completely. But as always, I will give you plenty of positives as well. So let's get into this. I don't want to say this is going to be a spoiler discussion because it isn't, but I guess this could be spoiler-ishy because of certain things I want to say. So that's kind of a pre-warning, but I don't really feel like it's all that spoilery. If you watch the trailer, I think this is all the things you can gather. But obviously this movie, if you haven't seen the trailer, is about a girl who accepts a girl's friend request, who has 0 friends, and the girl basically becomes a stalker, and she decides to, block her and delete her friend request, and the girl goes crazy, and she ends up taking her own life, and she starts stalking her from the grave via internet. That premise right there, I feel like, will turn tons of people off. And I totally understand that. I'm more open to pretty much anything, so plot concepts like this don't turn me off. If it's well done, it's well done. I can pretty much accept any plot line. But let's get into this film itself. Now, number one, the girl from Fear the Walking Dead is in this movie, and I think she is just gorgeous. So right there alone, I was already like, all right, at least I got something to look at if this movie's terrible. I was an awkward kid in school. I didn't really talk all that much, and I found my stride a little later on in high school, and I started to get good friends, and then I grew into my own, and I got this mouth that never stops now, but I used to be pretty damn quiet. So I do feel sympathy for these loner kids in films. That being said, I am actually fully on the side of the main protagonist in this film, the Fear of the Walking Dead girl. In a lot of these movies, what happens is kind of like in Unfriended or other films like this, where the loner kid is being picked on by everyone, and even the protagonist is not being all that great to her and like laughing at her behind her friend's back and whatnot. Like, the main character in this truly has sympathy for this girl, and she really does try to reach out, and I don't blame her at all for blocking this girl and trying to shut her out from her life and everything that she does. I fully support her in this, because what this girl does is fucking crazy, and she does nothing to deserve it. She is the only person trying to be nice to this person, and I sit there and I'm like, well, wow, that's different. Like, as I said, usually when I watch these movies, I want pretty much everyone to die. I'd be like, wow, you were so shitty to that person. Fuck you. I hope she kills you. But in this one, I was like, man, I totally understand where this chick is coming from. Fuck this girl. Like, fuck this loner. She is way, way too aggressive. And so, anyway, that worked for me. And this is yet another movie where I am sitting there thinking, her friends did nothing. Like, they did zero. And of course, they're the ones starting to die off in this movie. I'm sure that's not really a spoiler. That's easy to guess. And I'm just sitting there like, these guys didn't do anything wrong. Like, they had no involvement in this in the slightest. Like, they told her to stop talking to her, but that is obvious. This chick's nuts. So, as I said, I guess this is kind of spoiler-ishy, but if you've watched the trailer, if you even heard the premise, you can guess all of this stuff very easily. But if you're starting to think this is too spoilery, obviously shut it off. But I don't really think this is a movie worth checking out all that much, unless you're, like kind of like I said about a movie I watched recently, Wish Upon. It's a generic film that is catering to a young age range. Like, I think this movie would work very well for like internet obsessed, social media, obsessed 10 to 13, 14-year-old, and it's a PG-13 movie. So that's the audience it's pandering to, and I do think it would creep them out. They would be like worried about who they were going to accept friend requests and whatnot, and that's fine. I mean, this is really, I'm not the target audience for this film, but I still will talk about it and defend it where it deserves, and blast it for the things that are lame. There are some mutilated faces from there's these like really creepy looking characters, some of them, and there's like these two characters that have these really weird looking mutilated faces. It looks great, really creepy effect. I like that a lot. And there's also this animation that's in the film that the loner girl does on her computer, and it plays kind of throughout the film in certain plots, and I really liked that. Kind of had a Ring feel to it in a way at certain points throughout this film. But I like that a lot. And this film is much, I don't want to say gory, even though there is a little bit of gore. It's bloodier than most PG-13 films I saw. I was actually surprised at the level of blood and kills in the film. And honestly, the shit that these kids end up having to endure, the things that they see, like, it's, as I always talk about in these videos, like, I do try to take myself out of watching the movie itself and judging it on like, oh, this is a typical horror trope and this and that. I get that. That's not really how I watch film. I try to put myself into the situations of the characters and think, would this be scary to me if I was in it? And yeah, absolutely this would be. The shit that these kids see would terrify anyone. I don't give a fuck who you are. So in those moments, I have to look at that stuff when they see those kids with mutilated faces and all that stuff, and the things that they see. I'm not going to spoil that, but what they do see, I'm just like, yeah, anybody would be out of their fucking mind seeing this stuff. Of course they would. So I'm not going to knock it in those places, because I do think those are effective things. Are they perfectly well done and this and that and execute? No, but that's because this is a PG-13 film and it's trying to cater to a more general audience, which is where the downfall in this film happens. I do feel like this film could have worked and could have been good but they just kept it too generic to have any kind of, thing that sticks out to remember in the long term. Because that's really what it comes down to with films. Like, there's tons of films behind me that you can pick up off the shelf and you can show it to me and I can tell you fuckloads about it. Like, instantly. Like, recall from my memory. You pull down this, you pull down that, I'd be like, oh, this person's in it, and, this scene and that kill and this. You bring this movie up to me in a month or a year, the only thing I'll really remember is the faces of those kids. I thought that really looked cool and a very vague, basic premise, but that's about it. It's a very forgettable film. And another big issue that this film has is that the ending of the movie is pretty confusing and lackluster. I am still very confused about one single part of it, and I'm not exactly sure what they were saying there. I think it's as lame as I think it is, but I don't know. I think that they were trying to fake it out to be one way, and then it wasn't, and then the very, very ending's kind of like roll your eyes, like, oh God, here we go. Like the whole typical ending most horror movies have these days. Those are the moments where I have to roll my eyes, and it's like, this shit really has no stamp to prove it's different. Excuse me. Anyway, I was in a place without internet, and there was a Redbox up the street, and I had 2 hours to kill, and this was the only thing in the Redbox that I had any interest in seeing that I hadn't seen. And I was like, well, it's horror, so at least I can review it on my channel. It'll probably be not that great. And it wasn't. But as I said, there were plenty of things that I could take from it and discuss. I don't think that a lot of those things worked so much as to where it just got me thinking about the times that we live in and whatnot. So it was kind of a nice social commentary for me to analyze and discuss. Anyway, guys, my mother-in-law got me, well, the grandmother of my kids, I guess, got me this shirt. It's not really my style at all. I don't know what to feel about it, but I figured I'd throw it on. What do you guys think? Let me know if you saw this movie, and I'd definitely like to discuss that ending with anyone who has. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.